Hey everybody, so today I thought I'd come at you with a basic seitan recipe. I'm starting with about a cup of vital wheat gluten, and basically this is gluten protein. So if you have celiac, this is not the recipe for you. Next I'm going to be taking a good, I would say probably tablespoon of garlic powder and throwing that into the mix. You can use fresh garlic too, I just forgot. I also like to add a couple shakes of cayenne pepper. I used red pepper here. Well, that's cayenne. Da 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 da. Okay. Crushed black pepper as well. White pepper's nice too, but I like black pepper. I always add a little bit of soy sauce to vegan dishes because it gives it depth of flavor, some umami, which is like a meaty um, kind of perception of taste. And next you're going to go in with, I want to say, a little bit more than a cup of vegetable broth. This is really up to you. I would say try to start in equal parts of vital wheat gluten and a vegetable broth. And you'll feel that the consistency of your mixture is too dry at first, but just stick with it. I like to use a spoon. I like to typically use a wooden spoon in the beginning. Um, Mine were both drying and I didn't feel like dirtying them up again, so I'm just using a metal spoon. You're just going to kind of pull it together and it's going to seem, so, like I said, so dry at first, but it's really going to come together fine. And you're going to come to a point when you need to use your hands because it's just easier to kind of pull this dough together and scrape the edges off. Took my nice rings off, as you can see. Obviously make sure your hands are clean because that would be ridiculous if they weren't. So again, this is the kind of dough that the more you manipulate it, the better the texture gets. That's typically not the case for like cookie dough. You know, the more you actually it's kind of the same. The more you handle like a cookie dough, the tougher the cookie will be, and that's actually the desired effect of kind of beating the seitan dough up. Rip it, squeeze it, throw it at the cutting board, roll it around, punch it, kind of do whatever you need to do, but you basically want to rough it up a little bit. It's going to make it denser, a little bit more firm, and that's pretty much what you want. Again, that's the desired effect. And I think that seitan always looks more appealing and kind of just is nicer aesthetically when you rip it into the shape that you want it to be in, which you'll see in a couple of seconds. You're just going to spray your pan with some Pam or grease it with some oil. Preheat your oven to 350. The rings go back on. And as you can see here, I'm going to beat it up a little bit more because again, the more you handle it, the better the texture. And meat is definitely all about texture, as is freak meat. So as you can see, I'm pulling it apart. It gives it the most natural looking shape because you think about having, a piece of fried chicken, it doesn't look like, or it shouldn't look like, very uniform, right? So you want it to have kind of a natural shape. I have cooked seitan, cut it into the desired shape, and then prepared it, but I did not like that as much. So I like to rip it into the shape. So you can see those already look like little fried chicken pieces. Look at this trick editing. What? Did you catch it? All right, so they're on the greased cookie sheet, about to go into a 350-degree oven. In the video, you'll see that I set it for 20 minutes. Ideally, what you want to do is, I would say, cook it for about 20 minutes on one side and about 10 minutes on the other side. And yeah, I have a freakishly small oven, and it sucks. But I'm grateful that I have an oven, and it's a nice new oven, so can't complain too much. And no chickens were harmed during the making of this video. So the next part is where my video kind of falls apart a little bit. I'm not going to use any terminology at all, actually, because I don't know it. But basically, you want to make a dry mixture and a wet mixture. The dry mixture, I used a combination of all-purpose flour, as you can see, and of cornmeal. I put cracked black pepper, salt, garlic, a little cayenne pepper. You can add, kind of whatever seasoning you like. This is where you can really, kind of have a little fun. But you're going to make a dry mix and you're going to make a wet mix. And I don't think that I have the footage of me making the wet mix. As you can see, the footage from this video is extremely stunning, and that's my husband poking his little head in. And I'm pushing him meanly out of the frame. But anyway, basically what you're going to do is you're going to make a wet and a dry mixture. There's the dry. You're going to add vegan milk of your choice, so almond milk, to that, but also keep a completely dry thing of flour with some seasoning in it as well. What I did was dunk it in the wet mix, dunk it in the dry mix, and back in the wet. It's extremely messy, and I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I've always found that this comes out best. And here I'm getting started on the buffalo sauce, which is a lot of butter, vegan butter, obviously. I'm putting that entire bottle of Frank's Red Hot into my saucepan. I don't know how many ounces it is, but this isn't really that technical. The spicier you want the sauce, the less butter you want to use. You can even add extra seasoning and extra spice to it. Again, my little soy sauce trick. More pepper, because you can never have enough. And you're going to put it on heat. I'd say low to medium, low kind of heat. And vegan butter definitely needs a little help melting. Sometimes it looks clumpy, but you're just going to whisk away until it's nice and smooth. My dog is licking her feet because she has allergies, so I hope you don't hear that in the voiceover. Just checking on my little chickens. As you can see, they're looking nice and golden brown on the bottom portion. Again, that's why, although I don't show it in the video, you're going to want to flip them over and bake them for a couple more minutes on the other side. I did actually, in that video, take them out because I was kind of pressed for time. There you see, it's definitely nice on the top, while what was the bottom. The longer that you pre-cook these, kind of the firmer that they're going to be. So if you want something really chewy and kind of, more, I don't know, doughy and wet on the inside, you're going to want to pre-cook it less. In hindsight, I wish I had given these a little bit longer in the oven. Back to the sauce. And if that looks like a lot of butter in there, it is, because my husband does not like a lot of spice, unlike myself. So I had a little mercy on him, and I made the sauce pretty mild this time. Again, you can always, douse your own drumsticks or chicken bites, whatever you want to call it. Now comes for the really, really, really scary part. This is the frying. I do wish that I had a deep fryer, because that would just make this a lot easier. I only had olive oil on hand for frying, which I don't really think is ideal. So I'm just pan frying these. I am not completely submerging them because I don't have a deep fryer and I really don't need to be setting my kitchen on fire. So I am pan frying them in about a half an inch of olive oil. You want to watch your oil. If it starts to smoke, it's obviously too hot. So, go lower and, work from there. So I'm heating my oil up and I'm getting ready to dredge those babies. As you can see, they are coated and they're about to go in that hot oil. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm doing a voiceover on this video, it's because I was sick when I was making this video and I was out of it. I'm babbling, worse than I'm babbling now, believe it or not, and I sound ridiculous. So I just figured I'd do a voiceover. So I'm throwing those babies in, and I can't really give you a specific amount of time about how long they're going to take to get like that. You have to watch them, make sure they're not burning, kind of look for a nice golden brown. You're going to turn them onto each side if possible, being very careful of the hot oil. So you can see I kind of stood them up on their sides because I want every surface to be nice and crispy, which is easier said than done, clearly. It would just be easier if I had a deep fryer, so I will put that on my Christmas list probably. So I'm just, frying those bad boys up. And then you want to drain them on some paper towels because you don't want to be, slipping around, drowning in grease there with that olive oil. When I was making these, I noticed how much they looked like biscuits. Tell me if they do not look like biscuits. And that makes sense because there's pretty much batter on the outside of them. But they were delicious. I actually totally lost all of my photos of this dish finished. So just imagine those wings covered in buffalo sauce. And one was in barbecue sauce that just came out of a bottle, so I didn't bother to show you. But just imagine that nice, spicy, delicious sauce, and that's the mess that you have to contend with. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you next time.